5 foods that clog your arteries after 50. Have you ever noticed that your body doesn't bounce back quite like it used to? Maybe walking up a flight of stairs leaves you a little winded, or perhaps your hands and feet feel colder more often. It's easy to brush off these changes as just part of getting older, but sometimes there's subtle signs that something deeper is going on, something that starts quietly inside your arteries. Most of us don't spend a lot of time thinking about our arteries. After all, we can't see them or feel them, at least not until there's a problem. But these blood vessels are your body's highways. They carry oxygen and nutrients to every organ, every muscle, every part of you that keeps you moving and feeling alive. And over time, certain foods we've come to love, and maybe even rely on, can silently block those highways, slowing down the traffic, until one day, everything just stops. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow buildup, often over decades. But the good news is, by simply becoming aware of what goes on our plates, we can start making choices that keep our blood flowing freely and our hearts beating strong. And today, we're going to talk about 5 common foods that can clog your arteries, especially after 50, and what you can do instead to protect your health, your independence, and your vitality. Let's start with one that might already be in your fridge: processed meats. I'm talking about bacon, sausage, deli slices, and hot dogs. The kinds of things that are quick to cook, full of flavor, and have probably been part of your meals for years. Maybe you enjoy a few strips of bacon with your eggs or a ham sandwich for lunch. It feels familiar, comforting. But here's the thing. These meats are packed with saturated fats and preservatives like nitrates, both of which have been linked to inflammation and the buildup of plaque in the arteries. Take someone like George, a 62-year-old retiree who started each morning with 2 slices of bacon and a buttered roll. It was his little ritual. He said it made him feel like his day had structure. But over time, George noticed he couldn't walk as far without getting winded. Eventually, a trip to the cardiologist revealed one of his coronary arteries was 70% blocked. The culprit? Years of eating those salty, fatty meats that slowly damaged the lining of his arteries. Now, I'm not saying you can never enjoy those foods again, but what if you swapped out that bacon a few mornings a week for something gentler on your heart, like avocado on toast, or even a boiled egg with some steamed veggies? You'd still be full, still have that morning routine, just without the long-term damage. Small changes like this can make all the difference. And speaking of things that sneak up on us, let's talk about sugar. Not just the spoon you stir into your coffee. I mean the hidden sugar in pastries, sweet drinks, and even some sauces. After 50, our metabolism slows down and our bodies become more sensitive to the effects of sugar. When we eat too much of it, it doesn't just go to our waistlines. It gets converted into fat in the blood, especially triglycerides, which can stick to the walls of our arteries, harden them, and make it harder for blood to flow where it needs to go. Linda, a 58-year-old grandmother, used to treat herself to a cup of bubble tea every afternoon. It was her pick-me-up after lunch, something sweet to brighten her day. But she started noticing some tingling in her legs, and her energy would dip in the evenings. At her next checkup, her doctor told her that her triglyceride levels were nearly double what they should be. That bubble tea wasn't just a treat. It was a quiet contributor to poor circulation and artery damage. And here's the hard part. Sugar is everywhere. Even foods that look healthy, like flavored yogurts or packaged granola, can be loaded with it. But again, this isn't about never having something sweet again. It's about being aware. If you enjoy something sweet after dinner, maybe try a few slices of ripe mango or a small handful of grapes. They still satisfy the craving, but with fiber, vitamins, and none of that processed sugar. There's a reason so many people feel better when they clean up their sugar intake. Their minds feel clearer, their hands and feet feel warmer, their blood flows a little easier. It's like giving your whole body a deep breath. So far, we've talked about 2 heavy hitters, processed meats and excess sugar, and how they slowly impact your arteries over time. But we're not done yet. There are still more everyday foods we need to look at closely, not to scare you, but to empower you. Because once you know, you can choose differently. And sometimes that choice is the one that keeps you here longer, feeling better, stronger, more alive than you have in years. Let's keep going. We've looked at processed meats and hidden sugars, two sneaky culprits that quietly burden the heart. But as we dig a little deeper, we find that it's not just what's sweet or savory that does the damage. Sometimes the problem lies in something that's been part of traditional meals for generations: salt. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I don't even use that much salt at the table. But the truth is, most of the salt we consume doesn't come from the salt shaker. It's hiding in foods like instant noodles, canned soups, pickled vegetables, dried fish, and even your favorite dipping sauces. And after 50, our bodies just aren't as forgiving with sodium as they used to be. Salt pulls water into your bloodstream, which increases blood volume, and that pushes your blood pressure up. Over time, high blood pressure damages the inner lining of your arteries, making them stiff and narrow. It's like squeezing water through a garden hose with your foot on it. Eventually, something has to give. Let me tell you about Frank, a 65-year-old who loved snacking on pickled cucumbers and salted dried fish. He said it reminded him of his childhood. The flavors were comforting, nostalgic. But one afternoon, while walking to the market, Frank collapsed. At the hospital, his blood pressure was dangerously high, and scans revealed major blockages in his carotid arteries, the ones that supply blood to the brain. He didn't even realize he was on the verge of a stroke. That's the scary part. It creeps up on you, and by the time the symptoms show, the damage may already be underway. But that doesn't mean we can't take control. Cutting back on salty snacks and switching to fresh herbs, garlic, onion, or a splash of lemon can still give your meals flavor without harming your heart. And if you enjoy soy sauce or fish sauce, look for the low-sodium versions. They're everywhere now and can help you make that small but powerful shift. Sometimes we hold on to certain foods because they connect us to memories, family dinners, traditions, or routines we've had for years. But food should serve your health, not threaten it. And by gently adjusting those habits, you're not letting go of the memories. You're making room for new ones, healthier ones, full of energy and life. Now, let's talk about something that might surprise you: full-fat dairy products. Butter, cream, full-fat cheese, and whole milk are all things many of us grew up with. They taste rich, they cook beautifully, and they're often part of our comfort meals. But these foods are also loaded with saturated fats, which are known to raise LDL cholesterol, the kind that sticks to artery walls and forms plaque. You don't have to look far to see the impact. Helen, a 60-year-old retired teacher, loved her buttery toast in the morning. And who could blame her? She paired it with a glass of whole milk every day. But over time, she noticed a pressure in her chest whenever she walked too far or climbed stairs. Tests showed a 50% blockage in one of her coronary arteries. It wasn't dramatic, but it was enough to slow her down, and enough to scare her into change. The heart doesn't always cry out for help loudly. Sometimes it whispers, in the form of fatigue, dizziness, or just not feeling quite right. And those whispers are easy to ignore, until they're not. The beautiful part? Making changes doesn't mean giving up the foods you love completely. Helen switched to almond milk in her coffee and used a thin spread of olive oil instead of butter. She found a low-fat cheese she liked and began experimenting with new breakfast ideas: oats, fruit, even a soft-boiled egg with herbs. And you know what? She didn't feel deprived. She felt empowered. It's not about cutting everything out. It's about making thoughtful swaps, choosing foods that love your heart as much as you love them. Because after 50, your body starts to ask for a little more care. And when you listen, when you nourish it with kindness, the results show up in the way you move, breathe, and live. All of this might sound like a lot, and I get it. Change can be overwhelming, especially when it touches things we've done the same way for years. But think of it like this. Every single choice you make is like a vote for your future self. And the good news is, your body is always ready to respond. No matter your age, your arteries can still benefit from a healthier lifestyle. They can regain elasticity, your blood pressure can come down, and your energy can come back. You're not too old. It's not too late, and your heart is absolutely worth it. Now that we've cleared some space and opened a few doors, let's keep moving, because there's one more food we haven't talked about yet: one that many people still enjoy regularly without realizing what it might be doing deep inside. There's one more food we need to talk about, and this one might surprise you, especially if you enjoy grabbing something quick and crispy from time to time. I'm talking about fried foods. Yes, those golden, crunchy, comforting bites. Whether it's French fries, fried chicken, or even tempura, they might taste amazing, but they're hiding something dangerous. When foods are deep fried, especially in cheap or reused oils, they become loaded with trans fats. These fats don't just raise your bad cholesterol, LDL, they also lower your good cholesterol, HDL. That's a double hit to your arteries. Trans fats are like little saboteurs. They sneak in and make your blood thicker, stickier. They create inflammation in your blood vessels and lead to the buildup of plaque. And as you age, your body becomes less efficient at repairing that damage. What might have been manageable at 30 can become a serious risk at 60. Let me tell you about Susan. She's 67, a retired nurse, and she always joked that fried chicken was her love language. It was her go-to dish for family gatherings, crispy, golden, with just the right amount of spice. But she started feeling heaviness in her chest, especially after meals. At first, she thought it was indigestion. Then one morning, she woke up short of breath and with tightness across her shoulders. That day changed everything. At the hospital, doctors found that 2 of her arteries were over 80% blocked. Her heart was working overtime, struggling to push blood through narrowed pathways. The fried foods she loved so much had taken a quiet toll over the years. But Susan is a fighter. She took it as a wake-up call and made changes. Not overnight, but one step at a time. She switched to baking her favorite dishes instead of frying them. She started using olive oil, and she learned how to get that crispy texture from an air fryer with a fraction of the oil. Now, every time she cooks, she thinks about the life she still wants to live. Dancing at her granddaughter's wedding, traveling, walking without pain. Food still brings her joy, but now it also brings her peace of mind. And that's what this is really about. Not guilt, not fear, but freedom. The freedom to live with energy, clarity, and confidence. Because every bite you take can either feed the problem or fuel the solution. When we look back at the 5 big foods that tend to clog our arteries, processed meats, sugary treats, salty foods, full-fat dairy, and fried favorites, it's not about cutting them out forever. It's about becoming aware. It's about giving your body the love and attention it's quietly been asking for. After 50, your body talks to you differently. It whispers instead of shouts. It asks for lighter, cleaner fuel. And when you start listening, really listening, something beautiful happens. Your energy comes back. Your mind feels sharper. You sleep better. You walk a little farther, stand a little taller, and suddenly, life feels more open again. And here's the best part. You don't have to make huge changes all at once. Just start with one. Maybe today you skip the bacon and try avocado. Maybe tomorrow you reach for water instead of soda. Maybe you switch the deep-fried dish for something oven-baked. That's it. That's the magic. One small choice at a time, building a better, brighter future for yourself. Because you still have so much life to live, so many moments to enjoy. And your heart, it deserves the chance to keep showing up for you, strong and steady, every single day. So, take a breath, smile, know that you're doing something good for yourself just by being here and paying attention. You're not alone, and you're not powerless. Every step matters, and this journey, you're walking it with courage. If you found this helpful, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Share what changes you're making, or what foods you've decided to swap out. Let's support each other. And if you'd like more tips like this, gentle, heart-centered, and grounded in real life, go ahead and subscribe. We're building something here, a space for people over 50 who want to live stronger, longer, and with joy. Here's to living your best life at any age. You deserve it.